Thanks to Tony Perella, and talk about magic. We've got a real treat for you. This is the only time you're going to see cars on the oval as these Ragtime racers, these are pre-1920s race cars from all manner of manufacturers. We've got a Locomobile, we have a National, we have an EMF, we have a Packard, we have a Rio, we have a Romano Sturdivant, we have a Hudson, we have a Hall Scott, we have a Buick, we have a Lexington, we have a Duesenberg, and a number of Ford race racers. The Fords, of course, all derivative of the Model T. Safety cars been looking around.
Oh, that's so cool.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, when these cars race, this was a brick city speedway. Things to really get back to their roots. Some of these cars actually race in the Indianapolis 500. Overhead valve conversion, that's certainly not uncommon. Different transmissions, they have a two-speed transmission, but a lot of these teams will retrofit them with a three-speed auxiliary transmission behind that, and then a two-speed rear end, giving them 12 different forward speeds. The Lexington Minuteman 6 is powered by an Ansted 6-cylinder motor with 224 cubic inches. Overhead valves making about 73 horsepower back in the day. Wire wheels with rear mechanical brakes. The Lexington company began building cars in 1909. That was 2 years before the first Indy 500. And they were in Lexington, Kentucky, hence the name. In fact, it was moved a year later to Connersville, Indiana, where they stayed until 1926. Ansted Engineering was supplying engines for them. They were used in pretty much all the models. The Lexingtons were well known for participating in Pikes Peak Hill Climb, first and second place. Finished in one of the top 3 places every year thereafter. The Locomobile Model I is a Locomobile T-head 4-cylinder, 471 cubic inch engine. 4-speed dual chain drive transaxle, 110-inch wheelbase with a steel frame weighing about a ton, 2,200 pounds. Locomobiles originally were steam powered, known as they licensed their power plants under the Stanley patent, the Stanley steamer, which is what line up in rows of 3 and come to the front straightaway. It's the only time you're going to see cars going this direction on the racetrack this weekend. There were only 2 of the Locomobile Model I's made for racing, both factory racers. In 1909, they raced in what was called the Code Trophy, the Crown Point Street Circuit in Crown Point, Indiana. Another unusual car that most people haven't heard of is the Hall Scott racer. The Hall Scott Engine Company was a California-based company building engines for aircraft for the most part. And the Hall Scott is that silver number 9 making a move down to the inside here, trying to get to the front. We've had a 9.9 liter, almost 10 liter motor. 4 cylinders, an overhead cannon. This is aircraft-based engine was used in the World War I Army Air Corps biplanes. Designed an all-aluminum race car body to compete in the Vanderbilt Cup race in 1917. This is mounted in a 1917 Rio running liquid combination. the pride of just about any contemporary race car. The Rio Sportster is the red number 15, a four-cylinder L-head with about 35 horsepower. Rio are the initials of Ransom Olds, who, of course, founded the Oldsmobile in 1897. He left the company in 1905 and established the new company that was called Rio. Perhaps the most famous Rio episode was the 1912 Trans-Canada journey, traveling 4,176 miles from Halifax, Nova Scotia to Vancouver. Number 16, Blue, is a Packard, 1912 Packard, 430 cubic inch four-cylinder T-head with an aluminum crankcase and iron cylinders, about 40 horsepower thereabouts. It was built in 1899 by the Ohio Automobile Company, later named the Packard Motor Car Company in 1902. This Packard race car was known as the Gray Wolf, the lightweight aerodynamic race car. Designed and driven by French engineer Charles Schmidt. Packard race cars on and off for 3 decades, including 7 cars for the Indy 500. Carl Fisher, one of the Packard dealers in Indianapolis, is one of the 4 founders of the Speedway back in 1909. One of the more unusual ones is a 1916 Sturdivant Romano Special. It's the maroon number 18, just coming by the vantage point now. 555 cubic inch aluminum V8, that's right, 1916 V8, 220 horsepower, with supercharged. Chevrolet and Bob Burnham winning trophies for the very first race at Indy. Our number 20, the blue one, is a national Indy racer. A T-head 460 cubic inch motor, making almost 100 horsepower. National cars were built from 1900 to 1924 right here in Indianapolis. The originals were electric. They were phased out to the gasoline-powered cars. Arthur C. Newby was one of the founders of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where a national won the 500-mile race in 1912. An average speed of 78.2 miles per hour. Still holds the record for the largest displacement engine ever to win the Indy 500 at 460 cubic inches. Blue number 21 is a Hudson Super 6, 4.7-liter 6-cylinder L-head. The last manufacturers to enter racing was the Hudson Motor Company of Detroit. Built the car since 1909, but in 1916, revolutionary engine design guaranteed them a prominent place in the record books. Recent training engines will withstand higher revs as a result of a new form of covered 1,819 miles, an average speed of 75.8 miles per hour. At the time, that was faster than any human being had traveled in 24 hours with any form of transportation. Another unusual one is the 1911 EMF Model 30, 4-cylinder 246 cubic inch engine. EMF began building passenger cars in 1908 with the diesel system. 1908 and 1912. This was one of 3 EMFs sent directly from the factory to Savannah, Georgia, to race in the Tideman Trophy race, one of 2 car races that will run in the morning November 27th, 1911. Vanderbilt Cup was run that same day after these 2 races. This very car was the third spot. A 171-mile race, the car averaged just under 60 miles an hour. Finally, the number 33 Maroon is a 1920 Duesenberg. Straight 8-cylinder, as just about all the Duesenbergs were. Fred and Bobby Duesenberg were founders passionate about racing from the very beginning. Built over 30 race cars throughout the teens and the 20s. Eddie Rickenbacker was one of the first to race one in the 1914 Indy 500, finishing in 10th spot. Duesenberg driven by Jimmy Murphy and won the 1921 French Grand Prix, the first American car to do so. Duesenberg eventually won the Indy 500 in 1922, 24, 25, and 27. Thank the folks from Ragtime Racing for bringing these cars to raced in the inaugural race in 1911, as did the EMF. Packard eventually broke through with a win, as did the Duesenberg multiple times over the course of their racing history. These cars are lovingly maintained by their owners. John Kent is the owner of the number 2 green car. Dan Ursig is his driver. Dick Luna is the owner of the Hall Scott, that beautiful silver body number 9. Sean Luna is the driver of that car. Roy Foundation. Wolf. Tom Malloy, the driver of that one. The Blaine Motorsports Foundation owns multiple cars. The National Indy Racer, the blue number 20, Frank Zucchi is the driver. They also own the Packard, the 1912 Packard, the number 16, the blue 16, Chris Helling driving that one. They also own the Romano Sturdivant. Eric Ramos driving that maroon number 18. Hudson is also a Blaine Motorsports Foundation. Frank Walker drives that number 21, blue car. Charles West drives the Lexington, the 1920 Lexington, the yellow number 7. And the final of the Blaine cars is the Ford Model T. And number 13, Bill Dunn. Bill Pitts and CEMF. Archer, the winner, the owner, should I say, and the driver of the yellow number 4 Ford Racer, 1915 Ford. Dale Kritz also owns the Buick, the 1919 Buick, the red 19. Dale Kritz is the driver on that one. The Duesenberg is owned by Bobby Green, number 33 Duesenberg, with Brian Blaine as the driver. And finally, Mark Edwards owns the 1920 Ford, as the checkered flag flies for this field. Yellow number 20, and he is the driver as well. If you haven't had a chance to do so, if you're here at the facility, we certainly encourage you to make your way over to their paddock right at the base of the pagoda. In the paddock area, you can see their big hauler there, and all these cars are lined up for you to see up close and personal. Hard to believe that we've come so far in 100 years as far as the sophistication of what we call race cars. These are the foundation pieces which we all aspire to as fans of fast motor cars. This is what constituted a fast motor car back in the day. Of course, the riding mechanic was the visibility for the driver. He was sort of the eyes of the driver over the back of the car. And also responsible for maintaining fuel pressure and oil pressure and whatever, often with a hand pump off to the side of the car that the mechanic would have to pump up to keep the fuel pressurized as flowing into the engine. And of course, the riding mechanic was also there to help with repairs should anything break down, and these cars, frankly, did break down a lot. Having a mechanic on board was certainly a good thing. Ray Thornton won the original Indy 500 in 1911. It's credited with inventing the rear view mirror because he felt that the mountain boss was reliable enough that he could drive so long. Rather than have a riding mechanic, and didn't want the extra weight and the extra capacity. So he fabricated a mirror that mounted to the taillight so he could see behind him. This
Car 9 and 19 by 10.
Speaking of the Brickyard, there's some trivia that Pam Shawtraw dug up for us regarding the Indy 500. A lot of people think that the first race here was a car race, but the first race was actually a balloon race, which took place while the speedway was being built. The first car race actually was held in mid-August in 1909.
I will be.
Bob Berman drove a Buick
10 off.
to win the first auto race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was called the Presto Light Trophy. It was 250 miles long. The question is often asked, why is this place called the Brickyard? Well, it was paved with bricks originally.